Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope you're ready for some more marvellous magic today. Now, the best thing about being the best magician in the world is that you can do magic anywhere, anytime, even when I'm just having my breakfast and I'm going to make this piece of toast disappear. Why don't you look at the steps to success from yesterday, and by the time you're back, this toast will be magically gone.
Yesterday, we added bossy verbs and adverbs to our plans, and today we're going to add some fronted adverbials of time and conjunctions before we start writing our instructions. Now, shall we see if that toast has magically vanished?
Ta-da! The toast has gone. Magic.
Here's what you'll need for Wednesday's writing lesson. You'll need your plan from yesterday, where we wrote on the verbs and the adverbs. If you didn't get a chance to do one yesterday, just feel free to have a quick look back now and create one quickly. It won't take long. And then once you've got your plan, you'll need some coloured crayons again for adding the different types of words, and a nice sharp pencil or pen ready to start writing our final instructions. The first part of our learning objective today is to add fronted adverbials of time to our plan. Fronted adverbials of time come at the start, the front of a sentence, and tell us when something is happening. I don't think you'll need much help with these today because you've already shown in school what experts you are at using fronted adverbials of time. Now, fronted adverbials of time can be good in all different types of writing, but which of these fronted adverbials of time do you think would work well in instructions? Once upon a time, after you've done that, first, one dark cold morning, or finally? Which of those you think would be good ones to use in instructions? What do you reckon? First, finally, and after you've done that would be good fronted adverbials of time to use in instructions. Why might once upon a time and one dark cold morning not work so well? What type of writing would they be better used in? That's right, they are fronted adverbs of time that would probably work best in a story because they're a little bit more descriptive. Okay, should we start adding some fronted adverbials of time to our plan?
I think I'm going to use green pen to add on my fronted adverbials of time, and I'll try and keep the pen on the page, unlike yesterday, sorry. Now, here's the first one. I wonder what fronted adverbial I could use. Well, I just said one. One of the best ones to use when it's the first thing we're doing is first. And whereas with the verbs and the adverbs, I didn't need to use a capital letter, why do you think I've put a capital letter for my fronted adverbials? Well done if you said it's because we know they're going to come at the front of the sentence. They're going to need that capital letter. I'm also going to put a little comma after each one as well. We'll come on to that later where we look at how we separate the fronted adverbial from the rest of the sentence with a comma. First, what other ones do I know? After that. After that will help whoever's reading this understand the order that these things need to happen in. What else could I use? Then, capital letter. Then, put the string in your hand. Let's have a think about cutting the string next. Cut the string carefully. And then what about these ones at the bottom? I might do a bit of a longer one for this one. I might go for a when you've done that. And what's quite good about that one as well is when is a conjunction. So that's going to help me with the second part of our learning objective as well. When you have, or you, that's a contraction where I've taken away the H and the A in have. When you've done that, comma, and then this is going to be the final one, so I could use last maybe. I think I'm going to use finally. Finally, reveal the string dramatically. And I'll put my comma. Right, now it's your turn.
Which fronted adverbials of time will work well on your plan? There are a few examples here that you might want to use, or you might have some of your own brilliant ideas. At the bottom, there's one with a gap look that you might want to adapt for your own trick. For example, after you've shuffled the cards, after you've cut the string. There are loads of different options. Press pause now Add your fronted verbs to your plan, then press play again and we'll look at the next part of our LO. So, we could put a nice green tick by the fronted verbs of time, and the next part of our learning objective is to add those conjunctions. Conjunctions join parts or clauses of a sentence together. And I don't need to tell you too much about them because I know how brilliant you are at using them at school all the time. So let's just have a little practice together. I've written 3 sentences there. Why don't you press pause and see if you can think of appropriate conjunctions that could link the ideas together in the sentences. I've put our little figures at the top for think it, say it, write it and read it, because the most important thing, if you want to add in a conjunction, is then say that sentence out loud and check that it makes sense before you write it down, because not all conjunctions work in all sentences. Press pause now and have your best go. Which conjunctions did you think of? Here are some examples that would have worked, but you might have thought of different ones as well. Hide the string in your hand, but don't show the audience. Leon was excited because the show was about to begin. The scissors are sharp, so be careful with them. Here are some examples of conjunctions that we've used before in school. I'm going to see if I can use any of these on my plan, and I'm going to need to make sure I think about it, say it out loud before I write it to check that it makes sense for each of my instructions. So now I'm going to start to say some of my sentences verbally and see which conjunctions would fit in well. So this one, first, hide the small piece of string secretly. Wonder if a conjunction will work well here. Well, yes, actually, I could use but here, couldn't I? First, hide the small string secretly, but don't show the audience, because that's an important part, isn't it? I'm going to do my conjunctions in pink, and I'm going to put little jigsaw pieces around them to show that they're the conjunctions. After that, show the audience the long piece of string. Then put the long piece of string in your hand and quickly pull, or I could use an and. I could use one of those 3 chili conjunctions, actually. I'm going to say it to make sure it makes sense. I think I could use while, because it's happening at the same time. Then put the long piece of string in your hand while pulling out the shorter piece. Yes, I think that would work well. There we go. Let's go back and have a think about this one. After that, stretch out the long piece of string and show the audience. And would work well in there to link those ideas together and show the audience. And then I wonder about these at the bottom. Well, I don't need a conjunction for every single one, just like the adverbs. So maybe I'll just have a think about this one. When you've done that, push the small piece of string back into your hand so the audience can't see it. So would work well then. Just made sure by saying those sentences out loud that I'm happy that those conjunctions will work well to link the ideas together at this part of my plan. So now it's your turn to press pause and add some conjunctions to your plan. You might want to try and use some off the conjunctions mat, or you might have some of your own brilliant ideas. Press play again when you've done it, and we'll do the final part of today's learning. So now our plans are finished and full of amazing vocabulary ready to use when we write up our instructions. We're going to do most of our write-up tomorrow. However, we're going to make a quick start today because we've got a few minutes left of our lesson, and we're going to add the first 2 parts of our steps to success. Okay, I've got a piece of paper with some lines on to help me make my writing nice and neat. I've taken my plan out and I've got that next to me for later on. I wonder what happens first in our instructions. Let's have a look at that steps to success again and see what we need. That's right. All good instructions start with a title. Let's think of one for ours. Right, I wonder what would be a good title for my trick. Well, I could call it the magic string trick. However, I want to make it even more exciting than that. I could put an expanded noun phrase in. The
magic string trick, maybe the magnificent magic string trick. And because it's a title, this is quite unusual, but for a title, we can, for most of the letters, make them capitalised as well. The magnificent, and I like those two adjectives because I've got a little bit of alliteration in there as well, where the two adjectives actually start with the same sound. The magnificent, I'll put a comma there because there are two adjectives. The magnificent magic string trick. And because it's a title as well, I'm going to make it stand out by ruling a line underneath it neatly. Right, what's next on that steps to success?
Of course, we'll need to let people know what they need by writing an equipment list.
So there are a couple of ways we could do our equipment list. We could write equipment list, we could write you will need. I think I'm going to go for a you will need, and I'm going to put this bit of punctuation called a colon because I'm about to introduce a list of things that people will need. And I'm going to put another line under here as well, just to make that stand out. That's like a subheading that tells us what's going to come next. And there are different ways you could do your equipment list, and how you present your instructions is very much up to you. You could do a picture of the different items with labels, like in that waggle we saw. You could use numbers, or you could use bullet points. I think I'm going to start with bullet points, and I might add pictures on later on after I've finished. So what will they need in my trick? Well, you'll need a short piece of string. You'll need a long piece of string, a short piece of string, a long piece of string, and finally, can you think of what else the people might need if they're going to try and do this trick? Well done if you said they need some scissors. Tricky spelling, that's it's got that C in there, hasn't it, at the start? And scissors, and that's where we're going to leave it today. Just a little head start, so we're ready for tomorrow. And the first thing we'll do in tomorrow's lesson is start looking at this plan and putting together some of those super sentences.
So your final task for today's lesson year 3 is to think of a great title, write down your equipment list, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.